I'm Keith Good of FarmPolicy.com, and I'm pleased to be joined here in Washington, D.C. with Ralph Grassi, the president of American Farmland Trust. Thanks for taking a few minutes this afternoon to speak.
Glad to be here.
What do people who are not in agriculture, that may not know anything about the Farm Bill or its implications, what stake do they have in this, and why would they be interested in the specific changes that your organization has suggested?
A federal farm policy, the Farm Bill, affects virtually every American in one way or another. If it isn't the cost of the programs, which incidentally the Farm Bill is authorization for about $100 billion of spending annually. That's not a small amount of money. It is public tax dollars that are being spent in current policy. So they ought to be concerned just because of these are public dollars being spent. Incidentally, of that roughly $100 billion, about half of that goes into nutrition programs. So the school lunch programs and the food stamp programs, these kinds of nutrition and feeding programs are important to millions of Americans.
And those are all titles in the Farm Bill.
Those are all part of the nutrition title of the Farm Bill. So right there, a lot of urban America should be very interested in where that school breakfast is coming from, the school lunch is coming from.
Food stamps?
Food stamps. Pay attention. The second is that, on the theme of nutrition, is that this policy does probably have some influence on our diet and our eating habits in this country, because if anytime you are subsidizing one crop or one foodstuff over another, then you're biasing that foodstuff in the marketplace. But we do know that the policy does influence dietary habits, and people are concerned about that. So those are sort of big picture issues. But getting closer to our concern about the land and the stewardship of the land and opportunities for individual farmers. Farmers take care of more than 60% of the land base of the lower 48 states, or more than half of all the land in the United States is farm and ranch land. They are the stewards of the land. How they operate and what they do on that land has dramatic impact on our environment, on our water quality, our open spaces, our wildlife habitat. To the extent that we can use farm policy to support them to be better stewards of the land, it affects the quality of life of every American, everybody who enjoys the scenic landscapes and around our cities and communities. So, you know, those are really important issues for all Americans to get involved. On a narrower basis, if you're a farmer, like I am, you're looking for ways to strengthen agriculture for the future. This is significant public investment. We invested in research for new crops and new products. If we invest in helping farmers address the challenges they face, invasive species and other challenges, environmental costs, if we can do that with that money, then we're strengthening agriculture. It makes it a stronger part of our rural communities, an important part of our tax base in rural communities around our urban areas, but it also was going to make us more competitive in a global economy. So this is a big deal, even though very few Americans pay much attention to the Farm Bill.
And in May, your organization released a report with some suggestions and general proposals with how farm policy could be brought into compliance. I was wondering if you could explain some of the general principles that were represented in that.
We spent more than a year and a half talking to farmers all around the country. We held workshops that were facilitated by professional facilitators. We had almost 400 farm leaders from 48 states participate in those workshops, and we got a lot of good ideas from farmers, many of them participants in the current commodity programs, but who also believe that change is on the horizon and they need to be part of that process of change. So we spent a lot of time doing that, gathering information, and then we engaged a group of mostly farm economists to help us design what we're calling a plausible alternative strategy, an alternative structure for supporting agriculture in the 21st century. Importantly, we're not suggesting that this means drastic cuts in farm programs. We're suggesting that it means a reallocation of how we spend the dollars in the farm sector today. And that means investing in places where we're helping farmers meet environmental demands being placed on them, additional research, help in marketing, developing new market opportunities. There are a number of ideas in that report that go at that. We have proposed a safety net that is comprised of a revenue insurance mechanism that was developed at Ohio State University. But there are 2 or 3 different revenue insurance mechanisms that could be used. The important thing here is to have a good safety net that really is a safety net that responds to both price and yield fluctuation, and that is more cost effective, meaning we need to save some dollars in the current system, and one that helps farmers look more to the marketplace for their planting decisions instead of to the government. So a revenue insurance mechanism can do that. And if you go to our website, as I'm sure you have, Keith, you'll know that there are a couple of ideas there that we think have some real potential. In addition to that, we think the world is really ready for a serious green payments program. That is, rewarding farmers for the way they care for the land. European community has already moved in that direction. Clearly, our farmers produce more than food and fiber. They produce open space and wildlife habitat, watershed management. All of those are farm products, and we ought to be thinking about them as farm products. So we need a mechanism to reward those farmers who do the best job of producing those products for the rest of society and their communities. So a green payments program is a big part of our recommendations. Then there are some significant proposed changes to the current conservation programs. Make them more efficient, make them more watershed-based, provide opportunities for groups of farmers to work together and apply for competitive grants to get cost share money to help improve the environment. That's a significant proposal. We have another conservation proposal that is a conservation loan program. We believe that there are many farmers and ranchers out there who want to make significant capital investments to improve their environmental performance, manure handling facilities, etc. But there isn't enough money in the current programs. So a low interest or loan guarantee program that would provide a significant amount of capital right away to help those farmers upgrade their facilities is one of our proposals. Finally, there's a block grant proposal that we call our Farm Profitability Grants proposal. When we went around and talked to farmers around the country, it became clear to us that agriculture is so diverse in this country, from one state or region to another, that one-size-fits-all kind of top-down programs that come out of USDA don't always serve local communities, local agriculture well. We think that at least some of these issues need to be dealt with at the state level. So putting some money in the hands of the State Secretary of Agriculture so they can promote direct marketing or farmers markets or help farmers with unique research for a given region or a specialty crop in their area. There are a number of uses that some block grants could be used for in those areas. So those are some of the big ideas in our proposal, and the good news is that it's been well received and there's quite a lot of interest in these ideas.
Well, I'm Keith Good of FarmPolicy.com, and I've been joined by Ralph Grossi, President of American Farmland Trust. Thanks again very much.
Glad to be here.
Really enjoyed it.